Hey everybody, happy April 1st. It is April Fool's Day. They have the equivalent of it in France called Poisson Avril, which is when they stick cut out fish on the back of your shirt. I remember this from when I took French in high school. We are going to jump into a project today. It is a watercolor project with a little bit of stamping, and I am just using what I have on hand, and I encourage you to do the very same thing. These watercolor bookmarks come together so nice and easy. I think you're just going to really enjoy this project because you can kind of use what you have. I'm scraping some salt off here so I can see how that affected the paint underneath. I really do think that adding salt to a project, it's a wee messy, but it's really fun to see those pops of color and energy, kind of coming through because the salt picks up some of the water, and that leaves like a little residual amount of paint underneath and stuff like that. What were we talking about? Oh, we were going to jump right in. Let me show you what I'm using today, and then you can put together your own little collection from what you have of things that you can use to make this project. I have a Sennelier watercolor kit. As you guys know, I use a watercolor kit a whole lot of times that is from Dollar General that costs like $5 or $6. I've got a couple of stamp pads here. This one is Oreo Tailored Expressions. This one is Color Box by Graphic 45. Basically, the colors that you're looking for are something yellowish, goldish, that kind of color. But again, you don't have to stick to that. And something that is a basic black. I do not have any gold watercolor paint, so I fished out some golden fluid acrylic iridescent bright gold, which is working really well with this project. I have a super old Tim Holtz stamp that I'm using for this today, but you can use any stamp that you wanna. So let's get some watercolor paper. Does work really well with watercolor, thus the name watercolor paper. But you don't really have to use watercolor paper if you just want to experiment around with this technique. All right, first thing that we're going to do is, now this is a Diane Antone technique. I'll link her original video in the description box below so you can kind of see what she did with this. Now I have I'm sort of using partly what she did, but I encourage you to watch that video because Diane is such she's an inspiration. She's an expert. She knows the technicalities of watercolor. She's just a really fun person to just listen to. I have like my Diane radio on a lot where she does, she'll do like 4 hours of just watercoloring birds and things like that. It's a delight to listen to her talk. What I've done is I have painted on some black on this stamp, and don't worry, I'm going to wash it off really fast, but we're going to do 1 and 2, and then we're going to paint it again, because by the time you get to that third one, you really don't have. Now I'm going to do 2 techniques, okay? 2 different techniques, so don't go anywhere if this one's not to your fancy. All right, we just painted this again, and we're going to do 3 hearts. Next thing that you want to do is, take a rag and just get that off here. People who regularly stamp are going, oh my gosh, she is not doing that right. But you know what? I don't know how to do things right, and I am 65, almost 66, and I'm still living, by golly. No, I don't know how to do things right. So we're going to wet the inside of where we've stamped, okay? Now how you want to, I think it looks better kind of leaving a little bit of, I like this part of the stamp, so I'm just going to leave that like it is. Yeah, I got a little mark right there. No big whoop. Now we're going to rinse our brush, and we're gonna add a color, okay? So you can add any color you want. I think what turned out here really well for me was just adding like a little bit of red. So what I'm gonna do is just add just a wee bit of red, and then I'm gonna, so you aren't really painting so much as taking advantage of this water inside the stamped image to just play around with, right? So it's not really like you're having to be super technical with anything. It's very free form, okay? Now we're done with that. Next thing we want to do is get some, yes, I'm using some spare TP, by golly, because that's just what I have up here. My friend, this is going to be hard to explain, but she has a relative that works at a TP factory, and sometimes she gets spare stuff, and I'm like, oh, I'll have some of that because I can totally use that in the art studio, right? We use what we have here. We use what we have. All right, so what have we done? We've painted the stamp. We've stamped our image. We wet the inside of where we stamped with a watercolor brush and kind of pulled that color into the middle of the image, right? So the wet is, you apply the brush with color to, no, I'm sorry, you apply, start all over. You're using the brush to brush into, so you're getting some color. Then we switched colors. We chose another color. Then we lifted out and we added that, and then we lifted out some highlights. Now we're going to do something that's really going to make this thing pop, and you're going to really, really like this. I'm taking the iridescent bright gold. Now, Diane, in her video, used her Kuretake gold. Well, I don't have any Kuretake gold. So what I'm going to do is just use what I have. I'm going to pick up my stamp again. And yes, I'm painting acrylic onto the stamp. I know everybody's horrified. Turn away if you're too scared. And then we're stamping this on top, you know, or as close as we can get it. It's okay. And then what I do is I like to repaint it for the next one. Just like that. Look how super cool that looks. All right, now we're almost done with technique number 1. We're going to do another way to achieve this very same kind of thing using stamp pads. Now you can do one of two things after you finish this, okay? You can, let's get this paint off this. I'm getting the paint off the rubber stamp, okay? So there we go. I've cleaned it up and I'm drying it with this, one of my art rags. You can take your brush and pull this acrylic around, right? So you can kind of pull it around. You can do different things with it. Or you can leave it where it is. This is pulling it around. This is pulling it around. This is leaving it where it is. Okay, so you get two kind of different effects. this is total experimentation, okay? Experiment and make yourself happy. Be an art scientist. I'm sorry, Chris is making some sort of weird noise downstairs. Another thing you can do when you get it to this stage, you're welcome, is go back. I'm just going to pick up some wet. Okay. And I'm going to drop some salt on this. The salt absorbs the paint. It gives it a fun texture as well as a really super cool look. Okay, so we've done technique 1. Let's do technique 2. Or let's do technique 1 again, just to recap, okay? Paint your rubber stamp. I have had this rubber stamp probably 10 years. It's crazy how long I've had it. I did try and find it on Amazon, and I don't think it's made anymore. Okay, and remember, we can usually get 2 out of this. And then I'm going to have to go back and repaint it to get my 3rd. And I just like groups of 3. I think they're pretty. You're going to have some off-lift spots. You're going to have some streaks. You're going to have some things like that, because that's the nature of watercolor, right? I mean, sometimes you're going to get some splashes. All right, so what we're going to do next is we are going to wet the inside of the stamped image. I got way too much water there, but it's okay. Wet the inside. I think doing it in black first is really super neat, but you know, if you don't want to do it in black, then that's okay too. I think with this one, I might like to add, let's do some purple. All right, so we've wet the inside, and then we're just going to go back and tap in some color. It's super wet, but it makes everything just run so beautifully. So we've chosen another color, and we've gone back. Now we're gonna take a piece of paper towel, or if you're like me and got some TP, then that works too. This TP has not been in the bathroom, okay? This is art TP. Oh my goodness. We're going to lift out a little bit of color and a little bit of highlights. Now, when Diane does this, if she lifts out too much, what she'll do, and this is so super cool, is she just kind of goes back and puts in more color. And I love doing that. I love it because you can kind of really experiment, you know, with your highlights and things like that, and really make a very, you know, layered, texturally kind of pleasing sort of thing. All right, now the next thing that we want to do is to paint that stamp with a little bit of acrylic. Again, I'm using the iridescent bright gold. Again, someone gifted this to me. Thank you, Cheryl. I love it. You might want to try the Kuretake gold, just because, guys, Amazon has a pan of Kuretake gold for like $8. And I do have a set of Kuretake, but I haven't painted with it a lot because I've lost my mojo. And it's been hard to get my mojo back, but it's okay because I have been working on my mojo every day. I do something, while it might not be art, you know, I'll cook a meal, or I try to arrange something in the studio that looks nice, or I go out to my flower bed and pick myself a bouquet of flowers or something like that, you know, something to just kind of make me feel a little bit better, maybe make me feel a wee bit human. All right, so we've done that. Again, you know, let's be sure we're getting the paint off there. And I know that that's tricky, but and I know that there's like, oh my gosh, look what I'm doing. Silly me. I was trying to show you that I'm taking the paint off so nobody gets upset that I'm ruining a rubber stamp. I really haven't ruined it. I did get some marks right here, but that's okay. That's okay. Now, we can do one of two things. We can pull that color in, right? But I'm just going to leave that one like it is because, you know, two different, we're doing technique 1, but we did it a little different than this one, right? All right, let's lay that to the side. Susus decided he's going to howl his head off now. All right, let's oh man, let's switch a little bit. And what we're going to do this time is we're going to stamp with just some black ink. Okay? Oops. Well, let's start over on that. This is like what's been happening lately. It's like I'll turn the camera on and I get butterfingers, or I actually get butterflies. And I've been doing videos for how many years? You know, I've done 1,500 videos. Shouldn't get butterflies and feel all nervous. Kind of silly. All right. 3 images stamped with just some black ink. All right, now we're gonna go back in. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm doing the best I can. And just add water to the middle of it. This water does have a way green tint, but that's okay too. Let's get some water added to it. And be, you know, you gotta be kind of liberal with your water here. And I think we'll go for this gorgeous, like it's almost blood red. I do like it. So we're just, and like I said, you know, you don't be really specific with it. You're just gonna, you know, kind of scrunch it. Tap. You're tapping. Have any of you ever tried tapping? You know, that's a self-help, self-healing kind of thing. It calms you down a little bit. All right, so we've got some watercolor here. Let's do no, you could have done 2 different colors if you want. I think I'm going to lift out, and then I think I'm going to add some yellow in here. So do you see how this is working? It's very fluid. It's very like off the cuff. It's very freeing. It's one of those very free form sort of things to do. There's no specific, sorry, he's still howling. There's no specific way to, there is no right or wrong. Let's put it like that. I love things where there's no right or wrong. You can do whatever you want. Okay, I'm gonna lift out a little bit of that. That looks really sweet. It does need to dry just a minute. Now what I'd like to do, again, I'm going to go back. Oh, we're not using the paint this time. We're using a Color Box Graphic 45 Decades Antiquing Dye ink. The trick here, and I'll show you this because when I take the top off this, it looks brown, but it's not. It's yellow. Yellowish, golden-ish, okay. Oh boy. Probably gonna have to cut this short because he's really howling. Same thing as when we painted the heart with the acrylic. You know, we're doing the same thing. We're just using a stamp pad. You know, and if a stamp pad is what you got laying around, and it doesn't have to be this color. You know, you can use different color combinations. If you want to, you can re-wet it and put salt on it like we did a while ago. Okay, this is the one that we put salt on a while ago. It's not totally dry, and I would suggest letting it dry a lot longer. But let's see if we can knock off some of the salt. See, we should have left it longer. But it does like create a super neato effect. Look at that. Ah. Oh, I think it's so pretty, y'all. And it's kind of like a surprise, you know, because you never quite know how like the salt is going to absorb into the paint. So really fun. All right, so watercolor bookmarks, 2 techniques. Use what you have. Watch Diane's tutorial. I'll leave it linked in the description box below. And then that way you can kind of, you know, you can make up your own technique. You can do your own thing. They are so much fun. And I got to tell you, they turn out really, really, really pretty. A great idea for happy mail or letters. You know, you could write someone a letter and put this in the envelope. It's a great little hack. You know, you could do them for for your stores or whatever. It is really just a super fun technique. So I encourage you to use what you have and paint some heart watercolor bookmarks today. Thanks for hanging out with me. Talk to you soon. Bye.